I am here with Paul from the Grand Elektra. Hi, Paul. So, do you want to give us a little bit of background on the venue to start off with?
It's been an iconic venue in the town for at least I'd say 40 years. It sort of lost its way in the sort of like mid 2006, 8, right before the sort of like the financial crisis, and closed as what was then called the Crypt. And I run a security company as well. So I've looked after that venue for 20, 25 years myself. And it's the first venue that, I got drunk on Nuki Brown and done all the things that you do in the early 90s, you know what I mean? Or sort of late 80s sort of thing. And it's like a mecca sort of venue to the town. It's always had that, it's sort of where you cut your teeth. It's open to everyone. It's never been a sort of, if you could be in there in a suit with a ball gown on next to somebody, in a pair of, jeans or a pair of hot pants and whatever, you know what I mean? It's sort of, so it's a real mixed crowd, and it's always had that sort of diversity to the club, which I fell in love with because, you sort of, I met so many people down there, so many good friends, so many great memories. And that goes across the board for a lot of people who have mostly been in and out of that venue working and just partying sort of thing. So I sort of failed promoter in the 90s that sort of fell in love with that club. And when I turned 40, it just sort of come back on the radar, and I just thought this is the last opportunity for me to do this. So I went for it, and we launched it in 2015, and it's sort of gone. It was brilliant. It started off really well. We had a fantastic start. Sort of trying to do a bit too much, most probably a bit of everything, and we had to sort of shave it down to what was financially viable. I then had the usual, best friend turn partner turn someone who you don't talk to anymore sort of thing situation happened. Yeah, so sort of like business and pleasure. I knew what I was getting into, because he was a little bit of a risk, but at the same time it was, sometimes you have to take risks to get what you want. So went through that. Obviously when that changed for me as well, and then the management, I had resistance from the management who thought that they knew where the venue should be going, when so it's sort of like a change of that sort of happened as well. And then and this year was going to be my year. I had it all programmed out with live music and comedy and all the things that I wanted to sort of bring to the table to give it. So 5-year journey, and then you're sort of thinking, this is about to sort of jump off again. And then this happens, which is, like I said earlier on, it's sort of, at first it was taken on board as a little bit of a break and tried to take the positives out of it. And then sort of like, and then as we've progressed, it's got a little bit harder and harder to sort of like to keep afloat, hence why we're doing crowdfunding.
So it's a really personal venue for you in terms of your connection to it.
Yeah, I sort of feel sort of part of the blood, sweat, and piss basically that's in the walls. I'm part of that. You know what I mean? And again, it's always, like I said, from the 90s. I've always been around music and sort of like involved. And like I said, that venue, at the beginning, I've had Muse, Cooler Shaker. I sort of, sat there and had a chat with Gil Scott-Heron when he came down. There's been some real fantastic, the guys that owned it before when it was the Crypt were connected to Annie Nightingale through marriage in a way. So they got some amazing acts to come through. Like I say, I'm not trying to emulate what they did. I'm trying to just do what the club can do now in a modern setting with because literally you was walking through, half a foot of whatever down there some nights, and that's all changed. It's obviously progressed, but I sort of tapped my cap to it with the live music. And so yeah, there is that sort of I've got friends and people that I've worked with and lost that all the staff think it's haunted down there, and I'm like, well, they're all okay because they're all friends of mine, sort of thing. So it's sort of it really is something sort of quite special to me, I suppose. Hopefully that energy comes across in the way that how much passion I have for it and the town, really. Definitely. That's sort of one of the driving forces behind it. The staff just think I'm mad, I think, you know what I mean?
Well, a little bit of madness doesn't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
So how has the situation, obviously, this year with the pandemic affected you as a venue?
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, this year we had so much programmed in, and we had such a sort of like a vision of where we were going to take the live music, incorporating the comedy and sort of expanding it in areas. The club works great. I mean, it's Thursday night, student night. Friday night, a bit of a promotion night, but something we work with to which we would build. It ebbs and flows through the season because of being a sort of seaside town as well. So it's great for the summer. And then there's lulls like November and January and February. And then Saturday night it's quite housey, and then bringing the live stuff into that. So yeah, we had a lot of great ideas, a lot of vision for this year. So it's put a bit of a sort of a hold on that.
The period from when we locked down in March to now, have you opened? Have you managed to get any gigs at all?
No, we've sort of, this is what we did. We sort of rolled through the summer months, sort of hoping that we were going to come out of it at certain points. But we realised as we got to the end of the summer, we were working, like I said, with the pier, which had an outdoor garden and was doing lots of live music. So we were still, involved with everybody involved in the town, the community side of it, and then. We just sort of thought, right, we've got to do something because this isn't going to come out anytime soon. So we started programming live music, blues, like I say, sort of more, not just acoustic, but something that people could, still tap their feet to and have a laugh, and and sort of, and the comedy as well. So we programmed that, thinking sort of November, would be a good time because you think you're going to be safe then to sort of build something through the Christmas, and then this has all happened, sort of thing. I mean. It's all contrary to what you've been told and everything else. So I think there's that element of like, there's more people on the bus that are allowed into my venue, to watch a band. I don't, so it's sort of like, I do understand that clubs have got the stigma of everybody's so close to each other. But I also think if people are showing that they are COVID safe, that, other than the contract I have with my license to the venue, a lot of venues who haven't got contracts to the council are just opening because they need to stay open to keep the money flowing, and we haven't got that option. So it's sort of like so it's a bit more desperate, I think.
It's always interesting to me because we are very focused on these venues at the moment, like yours, as music venues, as and the music is always the kind of thing that we're focusing on at the moment because it's such a big industry. But there's also, like you keep saying, there's also so much other stuff that goes into these venues. Like you've got things like comedy, things like performance artists that are perhaps not music. Are you quite versatile in terms of what you would like to put on as in terms of the schedule?
It's a gift and a curse, I think. We're the only club in the town that's left. Licensing have done a great job of closing everything down and splitting up areas so it becomes a bit fragmented. So I can't please everyone all the time. I know that. But at the same time, I feel that what we can put out as which is sort of relative to the venue it is dance, it is, like say, comedy, it covers performance art, which we do. So it's everything really. We even I'd like to workshop it for DJ workshop and stuff like that. I've got my tech guys do apprenticeships for the sort of sound engineering. So I use it on it's one of those venues it's not about me, like when you said there is a personal touch to it, but the venue is bigger than anybody that works in it. It's a bit like the football analogy of the player's not as big as the team, and it's exactly the same with the club. So the club can put out quite a diverse sort of cross section of all sorts of entertainments, and that's really what we've always wanted. I'm not really any genre specific, so it means that I'm open to anything. And if it food, whatever we do, it's sort of it's working just with the town. It's the community of deprived area that needs something that sort of touches base with everybody really. Not that anyone in the council or the police would ever believe what I've just said there. It's the complete opposite to them. They're like, I'm just in it for the money. You know what I mean?
Hard to convince them, isn't it? But what I get from you is that in terms of the Grand Elektra, it's got a real sense of a connection with what the community around it wants. If there's something that there's a want for in the community, you'll put it on. Is that right?
Yeah. It's like not, and it's a really nice venue, so it really provides like high service as well. So we're caught in that we're not just like the pubs that can put an act on or a band on with a small amp and a monitor, and it just sort of the mic, and they just kick off. We have to sort of set out our so it doesn't really pick up just anything that's going on. It has to be of a certain sort of quality, I suppose. Yeah, and but we will try and get everything on and through the stage. You know, even with the promotions, you know, we're the weird and wonderful. We love all of that. You know what I mean? That's sort of like, you know, even when I said a rebel with a cause on the enemy thing, I sort of felt like I was a bit sort of leery on the enemy thing. So I think I got a bit so hyped up thinking it's enemy, you know what I mean? I was like, but yeah, it is about being, you know, a community hub, really, you know, and you know, and that's, I'd like to, at the end of these next 5 years, be able to sit back and manage it for another 5 years, you know, and just enjoy, you know, the social side of it, you know what I mean? But it's a working process, and this year has really either given it a chance to reset itself, which is good, but at the same time, it's momentum, you know. So that's why we wanted to do little things, just to keep the energy there, just let it roll forward a little bit.
And I think that's really important in terms of bringing a community together. I think that's why I find music venues so, or performance venues, we should call them really at the moment, but that's why I find them so important, because it's not just music, it's not just, you know, for music fans, it's a whole community thing, and it's bringing a town together, which I think we've
Yeah.
lost a little bit of in the modern age with, you know, so much
Yeah.
media, and we've lost a lot of that kind of community spirit in a lot of ways. But these venues, these are the places where that still lives, that's still alive, and that's why I think it's so important that we save them and keep them going, so that we can all go out and have a bloody good time.
Good knee. No, it's good knees up. That's what everyone wants. I mean, I totally agree. I think the thing is where this venue was shut for such a long period of time, and it changed its sort of, you know, it's not the same as what it was, like I said before, but and it's different. It's sort of, you know, I think the club element of what we did, you know, we had, you know, most of the grime artists went through the venue. You know, Jazzy Jeffs, the Trevor Nelson's, Grandmaster Flashes, you know, on top of all of the house stuff and everything else. So it's all very eclectic on the club thing, but it sort of gave itself it sort of set itself out as Grand Elektra as a nightclub, and behind that was me trying to sort of drop in, you know, jazz and blues and keeping the sort of the acoustic stuff. I do a thing called Cellar Full of Sound where I get free bands and we film it like a Jules Holland thing. It's on our website. You have to have a look. It's funny because I know who's filming it and who's you know, who's presenting it, and I can see the silly things that happen around it. And it was with the idea we were developing just to try and draw, like you say, that family feeling that you have around the sort of like the, you know, especially sort of like the up and coming aspiring acts and talent in the town, and trying to break the stigma of it being a nightclub, it now being a venue. It's been quite a difficult transition, and I just, like I said, this year was going to be a defining year for that. So, and I felt that comedy, you know, this is where we're working with the Fringe guys from Hastings who do the sort of Hastings Fringe. I think that community I thought that was going to be a very strong element of what we were going to do, because I think that does bring people in. They are having a laugh. It's sort of a sit-down environment anyway, and I felt it was a great way for us to introduce new acts and sort of like a different angle of what the venue is capable of giving people, you know, in a period when, you know, that's trying to bring a positive into something, you know what I mean? So it's yeah, it's sort of like it's a topsy-turvy sort of like, you know, existence at the moment. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. In terms of, if you were to be able to open, say we weren't in lockdown now, in terms of capacity, what have you been reduced to? What were you at and what are you at now?
Yeah, we was 480 and then staff, so sort of like 500 altogether, mainly on a normal night, on a Saturday night, and we're down to 65 and 5 members of staff. So it's a huge,
It's huge, isn't it? And every
yeah,
time I speak to a venue, and you know, I don't know why I'm still surprised by it, but every time I am, because it's just such a huge drop.
yeah. I
In
mean, it pays for the staff and the acts, and it might, you know, put a little bit of money in towards it, you know, into my Christmas fund. But it's sort of, but it's never going to touch the sides of the you know, the sort of fixed bills and stuff like that. So I mean, at that point, I mean, I spoke to Mark the other day, and I had sort of, you know, speaking to my landlord and kept in contact with them. I'm not trying to, you know, to sort of like, sleeping dogs lie a little bit. They've been quite good with me because they know that I've got the insurance going on and other bits and pieces in the background. So they're sort of playing ball with me. But I was going to make a contribution to sort of, like I'm a seventh of my capacity near enough. So I was going to make a sort of a gesture sort of gift to those and the guys that I rent the sort of like the sound and stuff off as well. And to keep them sweet really, and then to work on all the other areas to try and build up the funds to, you know, to kill off these bills, to make sure that they are going to play ball with me into the new seasons, or, you know, into the next 5-10 years of my lease, you know.
Yeah.
So it's you know, again, we're not out of the woods. That's the thing. I don't think a lot of venues are really.
They're not, no. And even those, to be honest, you know, we'll talk about your crowdfunder in a second, but even those who have been given funding, I don't think they're out of the woods completely, because it's going to tide them over, but it's not going to last forever. You know, if this carries on too much longer, they're still going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the like mothballing as well. If you know, it's sort of like you could, again, if you're doing something and you're keeping your sort of foot in the water a little bit, it does feel that you've got that connect with the community. So we've got a little bar on the side as well, which is sort of a cocktail bar. It's not the entrance; it's a sort of side entity to us. And it's, you know, I love it. It's called the Bat and Bee. It's got a real nice sort of feel to it. You know what I mean? And it does do really well. But we've had that open through the sort of, you know, when we've been able to open. It's all seated again, table service. You can only have 20 people in there, you know, sort of, you know, seated, you know, sensibly. And that was great, but the curfew sort of knocked the energy out of that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's sort of,
how did that affect you? Because
yeah, it just took any, you know, people don't come out to what we do until sort of like those sort of hours anyway.
that's the thing. When you're running something like you guys have, people aren't coming out until 10, 11 o'clock at night. So it
No,
completely kills
exactly.
that nightlife industry, doesn't it?
I mean, like you said, though, people were buying into it because they there's something to do, sort of thing. So it still just gave us that little sort of, again, it just felt that there was a little sort of reach into what we were doing. I mean, we've been doing food and takeaway and working with pop-ups and things like that, and it's, you know, it keeps you busy, and like I say, the staff are getting a little bit of cash, and it just sort of, you know, it was ticking us along. So to, you know, to this really this month, I mean, if it wasn't for the furlough, then, you know, really it could have been a real, you know, disaster for my, especially for the staff, you know what I mean? You know, and I know that they're, you know, there's especially the guys who do the hours and who get a higher furlough, you know what I mean, have sort of, you know, been doing stuff outside of what we do, but at the same time, I know that they're waiting to come back into the industry. You know, lots of them are musicians as well, like yourself, and have got that, you know, that need to be around, sort of like broken speakers and things like that. You know what I mean? It's sort of, you know, there's that need. You know what I mean? And so, but I feel for them as well. It's getting to the point where, you know, it's like, you know, some of them I have gone and got other jobs and are moving in different areas now. It's sort of, it is quite scary. You know, I saw an advert today with a guy that's on a, you know, he sort of was in an orchestra, you know, and obviously has no work for the whole, and now he's, you know, sort of again doing the old as the delivery, and you think, it's not, you know, I don't know if you saw that Goldie clip when he was taking the mick out of like retraining and stuff like that. There's the DJ Goldie done a clip about, and it's what do people do that have dedicated their life to music and things like that? It's sort of, it's quite insult, I think, to a lot of people who are told to go and retrain, that basically arts are over.
It's absolutely devastating, because I don't think, unless you're in it or really appreciate it or know someone in it that moans at you about it all the time, I don't think you appreciate how much hard work goes into this kind of industry
Well,
unless
yeah,
you are in it, and how
yeah.
much literal blood, sweat, and tears goes into it. It's part of your soul, it's part of your identity. And to then tell people, well, just go get another job, is like a stab in the heart, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah. Yeah, DJs. I mean, I know DJs have, you know, I'm assuming they're going to start to rebel and revolt anyway, because they must be, you know, I'm good friends with a couple of, you know, Danny Rampton and a couple of guys that have been on BBC and, you know, well known within it. And, you know, they're at the end of their tether. You know what I mean? They really are. And I think there's going to start to be a pushback from the DJ side of things, because they haven't got a platform. They rarely get to speak. It's only your Norman Cook sort of thing, and well known DJs that get that platform. And I think that they're feeling like they've got no voice, or no one gives a damn. You know what I mean? You know, you might be listening to the radio to a DJ, but no one really cares about DJs that are in clubs. I know that some of mine have struggled to get any sort of finance behind it as well, you know, so a lot of them.
And it's an interesting disconnect. I'd not really thought about it that much before. There is an interesting disconnect between the radio DJs and the club DJs in
Mm,
terms of who really has a platform to make a difference.
yeah.
And you know, it's the radio DJs that really have that platform. But you know, even then, not all of them have that
But
much to say in things that go on.
yeah. they're programmed as well, aren't they? A lot of them, they're not allowed to say certain
No,
things as well.
exactly.
But I think the thing is the industry before this happened as well. I felt that it was a little bit it was sort of outpricing venues like me as well, a little bit. So they was so expensive to just get sort of like, I'm no disrespect to the sort of urban scene, but there was a lot of not very talented sort of people coming through that were demanding ridiculous amounts of money, sort of thing. And it's sort of like, in the end, we couldn't really even, we've had some Wretch 32s and quite a lot of Target and a lot of on the UK rap stuff that's on TV at the moment. Had quite a lot of those guys with the venue, but now, if you approach them now, they'd be, again, maybe it's the bell chart thing where, I'm catching them when they're on their way up. Now they're at the top. It's sort of difficult to get hold of them as their big name. I've got to wait for them to come back down again to sort of grab them on 10, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot of people, I think, we've got to look at the pricing structure that goes into the venues as well when we come back out of it, because, a lot of demand, there's quite a lot of high demand. I felt that, festivals had pushed people's prices sort of like out of club reach, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's interesting, because I honestly, apart from playing in a band, I don't know much about the whole running a club, running the
Mm.
events and stuff side of it. So it's really interesting to know that things like that are happening. Do you think it's kind of like a market saturation thing where there's so many people doing it and everyone thinks that they deserve the same
I
pay?
think so. I think that's what it is. They just get, and that bar raises and raises and raises, and I think it's got to the point where if you're looking at sort of a DJ of any sort, some a quality DJ to come down, they're looking for like £3,000 for an hour's set, and you're thinking that's too much. You know what I mean? It's sort of like so you're working with the ministry or working with branding like the Mambos and Head Candies that we've done. You get a package with them and everything else, and you sort of like it's a night takeover sort of night, but you think to yourself, there's the margins, they're taking everything out of the night just for you to have their branding, where, it's sort of like it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? If they were more accessible, then they'd have more work. If they had more work, then everybody makes more money. And it's sort of if people aren't booking you but I suppose they think they can get booked. That's the thing,
Yeah,
So
that's the thing. And if they do have a brand behind them, that brand name, that that goes a long way.
it's one of those things, and it could be it's sort of like it's a way of, I mean, like I said, maybe the disconnected in some ways, or not in touch with in something with the grassroots. It's sort of showing that it's gone so far and become so popular with the festivals and everything's been progressing. It's it's a big old engine sort of thing, big vehicle. Maybe like I say, they've just, everybody thinks, oh, what do you ask for? And they go, oh, I asked for it, and you think, oh, that's £1,000 more than what I asked for, and I'm going to
Yeah,
ask for that next time. And
it
eventually, what
goes up,
happens?
doesn't it?
Yeah, and then so small 500 capacity venues are are always very caught in that. We haven't got enough people to to get. If you had 1,000 people, a lot more acts are accessible because of the numbers. When you haven't got the numbers, you've got to really really sort of like sniper rifle your sort of work, I mean, so you get it perfect, so of course, like I said, Primal Scream at the beginning, if I had them, it wouldn't be I wouldn't be looking to make the money on it'd be a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
And the bar would make money, but the bar would mostly have to supplement the costs as well. And but you don't mind doing that if you're getting what you want.
That's the thing. If you've got someone that you're like, I really want them, you don't mind kind of sacrificing a little bit, but there's a limit to how many things you can sacrifice before you start to get in real trouble, isn't there?
Exactly.
Do you think that there's that disconnect that you were talking about between that kind of top level and that grassroots level? Do you think there's anything to do with kind of more stuff being online now, streaming and everything like that, more ways to connect with artists in terms of social media, so people are seeing and putting on a pedestal all these artists on social media, but not perhaps seeing the importance of where they've kind of come from?
Yeah, I think that social media and the way that people can self-promote within the social media, and you can be, they don't have to have that. They can connect with their crowd through the sort of technology nowadays, where before you didn't have the phones, and you'd go to the live music venue knowing that most of the time you're going to go there, the music's going to be rubbish, the bands will be rubbish, and then every now and then there'd be a bit of gold there, sort of thing. Now they expect it to be gold every time you open. It's sort of like expectations are so much higher in venues. So I think that, yeah, I don't think, and obviously I don't think that the people at the top understand what's going on at the bottom in most sort of businesses. So it's sort of, in some ways, like I say, hopefully this sort of sort of rude awakening for the industry. It's going to make people appreciate the money that people get paid. You know, I feel it's really hard to pay someone £3,000 to do an hour, drink as much as he wants and behave in a way, when all of my staff's wages, you know, cost that for a week, if you know what I mean. It's sort of, there's an element of like, it's unbalanced really. And you know, and I think that's what it is. You sort of, so yeah, I think it's definitely going to change the way that I operate as we come out of this, you know. And obviously working with like MVT and the Arts Council has been a real sort of like, it's something like someone's turned the light on a little bit, because I didn't realise the support a venue like mine could get, really. And I think that sort of made me really, and that's why the crowdfunder sort of like, I've been so reluctant. It's one of those ones where I just sort of like, I feel that, you know, putting it out into a small town like this with a really, it's quite, you know, no one's got any money down here. They're quite deprived. It's coming into seasonal and everything else. It's sort of expecting them to dig it. I'm not expecting them to do anything. I didn't, you know, I sort of, as an independent, it's quite an alien sort of position to be in, because you feel like it's, you know, but I know that it's for the great cause of, for the MVT, and hopefully it triggered the Arts Council to, you know, getting everybody paid who needs it, because obviously we wouldn't be on this red list if we weren't, you know, in a deserved sort of position or needed, you know. So yeah, so it's a bit of an odd thing. I said the other day to Alex, I'm looking at it thinking, no one's putting it, you know, no, we haven't had anybody, even though we hadn't even released it. I was a little bit, and so I started to think, oh, is it because no one likes us, sort of, you know, you start to question, is it, you know, is this how much response I'm getting from the town? Does the town care that I'm there or not? Or, you know, so I've sort of taken what I do with social media. I'm not going to bother with it. I'm just going to every now and then look at it and just think of it as something that runs alongside, and not get like, you know, mentally like, you know, phoning all my friends up and shouting at them, like literally like, pay me, you know, buy a snood, for God's sake, buy a snood. You know what I mean?
It is hard. I can imagine it must be so hard, because I get it whenever I do any kind of fundraising. If people don't donate to me, I'm like, do they hate me? Like, do you not think that what I'm doing is worth doing? And I don't think it is that. I think part of it is people are struggling at the moment anyway.
Yeah, I get it.
And you know, and part of it is just reaching people, and that's what this whole project is about, is trying to like get the reach to people who maybe don't know about your venue, don't live in the area, but care about music venues. Because like me, I don't care where the music venue is. Obviously my locals are the ones that are like in my heart important to me, but I don't care where the venue is. I just care that they exist somewhere around the country, because wherever they are in the country, they benefit the overall scene.
Yeah, of
And it
course, yeah.
doesn't matter if it's the venue that's next door to you, or if it's a venue that's up the other end of the country to you. We need to support all of them. So that's what this whole project is about, trying to kind of reach out and get you more, if we can, on your crowdfunder.
Yeah, no, what you guys have done, it's been amazing. And like I say, we've sort of like, you know, if it wasn't for the support of MVT and, you know, doing the crowdfunding thing and working together as a community within that, you know what I mean? It's sort of like, you know, I quite enjoy, you know, checking the Facebook every day and seeing what's going on and watching how people are doing, and, you know, and it's a real positive thing. And I like I say, that's sort of, like I said, it's been a bit of a light switch moment for sort of like in certain areas with that, which I never really assumed were there. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. It's you know, every little tiny venue really is, you know, is important. And like I said, you know, and if this means, you know, us crowdfunding or doing other things, working with MVT to sponsor venues, to help venues to get over their hurdles as well, then, you know, we're part of that as well. We're right up for it, you know. So I don't know how many snoods I can afford to buy, but as long as, but I will have them. That's what everyone's getting for Christmas.
Do you know, I haven't bought a single snood yet. I do feel left out. I've bought a t-shirt, but I haven't bought a snood yet, and I think I need to.
I think I need a snood in my life.
Everyone's going for the snoods. It's amazing. I didn't think snoods were in.
Well, as I said to a few friends about it, and they said, "Oh yeah, that'd be great for when we go out jogging." I thought, if it's, you know, I don't know if I'm going to go out jogging, but at least I have a snood there if I ever want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's a bit of But again, like I say, the rewards is a great thing. I mean, we're pushing out today, I think, into more of the sort of live and sort of the forums within the town with live music, to sort of, because it's our tribe, if you know what I mean, and try and get those guys to sort of connect with what we're trying to do. We've lowered the donation to £5 because I think it's just that, you know, it's just £10 could be a little stretch too far, you know. So you know, and we're again, it's, you know, gone into the papers. We've done the radio this morning. You know, we're pushing hard in all different areas. I mean, it really is. You know, I think it's going to pick up, and we will get momentum. It's just at the beginning. It's sort of like, if anything, it's hard to just get something static moving, sort of thing. So you know, this is all part of it. Like I said, I have looked the other day and sort of judged myself compared to the others, and I've looked at one and they've got like 20 grand. I'm like, well, how'd they do that? You know, I mean, someone must have put 20 grand in, but it's like, you know, it's in Brixton and it's right in the middle of London. And obviously it's got a lot of people who have been around the venue. So I do understand that it's a bit of a, you know, it's a bit sort of, it's information getting out there, really. It's how do you, like say, reach out into all of these crowds, really.
And the great thing about the Music Venue Trust project, the Save the 30 project, is that it's inclusive of everyone who really does need help at the moment. They've identified those venues who really, really do need help, and put them all on that list so that we can try and help them all.
Bev and David, you know, like, they deserve their OBEs, don't they? Really, they sort of, you know, it's what they've done. You know, don't get me wrong, we're part of other associations as well, nighttime economy ones and things like that. But in comparison, it's that person. They're so much more attainable. You know what I mean? It feels. And when they're talking, you know, when you listen to both of them talking, they know exactly. They've got that experience within the industry. They know it inside out, and it's a. You know, it is, you know, they, like I said, they deserve their OBEs. You know what I mean? I think when they get them, hopefully, you know, there's enough people who've been helped out within the MVT to sort of push a positive view for them. I think afterwards they need to be having the interviews. They really need to get the kudos for what they've done, because it's pretty amazing what they've done, really.
Absolutely.
From that little room up in their attic. You know?
Really agree. Well, I absolutely wish you guys the very best of luck, and I really hope that you get some great donations to help you along the way. And we need to support these venues just like yours, who bring so much diversity to the areas that they're in, and so much community spirit, which is absolutely great. If you're up for it, at the end of all my interviews, I'm doing a little challenge just so that it's something fun at the end, because it can be quite depressing talking about how much of a awful situation we're all in at the moment. So basically, it's a 2-minute challenge. You just answer however many questions you can answer in 2 minutes, if you're up for it.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah? Does Alex want to join us?
Alex is mostly in the background cooking. He's normally... Is
he cooking?
He's mostly cooking or doing something in the background. I know what Alex is like. Here
he is. Hello.
Hello.
Bloody hell,
I'm not cooking today. I'm in the office today.
He's in the office. Make me feel really bad.
Alex, do you want to join us and do this?
Go for it. Why not? Sounds good.
Okay, so we're going to take it in turns. So Paul's going to go first, then Alex, and we'll just alternate questions, basically. Sure. So however many questions you can answer in 2 minutes. Current record is 24.
Bloody hell.
I know. They were on it. They were so competitive.
Here we go, Al.
But the average is nowhere near that, so don't worry.
Yeah, we're not.
So, Paul, you're going first. Your 2 minutes starts now. What's your favourite band?
Jimi Hendrix.
Alex, who's the most famous person you've had come through the Grand Elektra?
Oh, it's got to be Grandmaster Flash.
Oh, what's the biggest gig you've ever been to, Paul?
Kiss.
Oh, how many followers do you have on Instagram?
How many? About 3,000.
Favorite song ever?
That's a tough one. I can't really go with that. Velvet Underground, beautiful.
Oh, that's a good one. How many staff do you have?
About 10 full time, about 5 part time.
Who's your favourite member of staff?
Alex.
Oh, that's cute. Who's your favourite singer?
Who's my favourite singer? Got to say the lead singer, Xavier. It's pretty good. Seen them a few times.
Oh, sorry. Who's your idol, Paul?
God dear. Let's say James Brown.
Who's your favourite customer?
Oh God, there's so many. Like, I couldn't put a name to them, honestly.
So hard, isn't it? I know.
See thousands every year. Like, it's so hard.
Pass.
Pass.
Pass. Okay, what's your hidden talent, Paul?
Hidden talent. I'm really good at growing tomatoes.
That's a hobby over the summer.
Okay,
Yeah.
Alex, describe the venue in 3 words.
Amazing. Full of fun. Fun. Let's go with amazing, fun, and nothing like it.
That's a lot of words for 3. Well, that is your 2 minutes, guys.
That's brilliant.
But yeah, it's fun, isn't it? But they're hard questions. Like, when you're on the spot, and I'm like,
well,
yeah,
like that, yeah.
Yeah, when you think idols and things like that, I'm thinking there's Prince, there's other people that have, you think to yourself, and it's just hundreds of vacancies and names going through your head. It's like,
you don't
used to on the chase.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much for talking to me. And if you guys can send me any videos of someone playing there, I can feature it in an episode and hopefully reach a few more people and get you a few more donations on your crowdfunder.
Well, superb, lovely, Emily. I say, and if you're travelling or touring when you're playing your music, please come and play with us. You know what I mean? It'd be great. You know what I mean?
I'd love to. Yeah, if we ever get out of this whole situation, I would love to. I'll look you up and I will try and book in.
That'd be awesome. Lovely. Nice to speak to you. Thank you very much for your help as well.
Meet you guys.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you later. Bye.